Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today is a serial entrepreneur who started flipping homes, but then created her own unique win-win-win, the triple win model. Anne Amagrande is the owner of Grande AMA and Associates. And welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here, Seth.
I am super excited for you to be on here. We always have a great time when we chat. So
always.
Let's kick things off and talk about your real estate goals right now. Where are you looking to take real estate?
Oh my gosh, man, we can talk in so many circles and so many directions on that. Our current focus this year is to focus on, we're really focusing on moving into cash flow markets right now. So as the Phoenix market, so our business is based out of Phoenix. We're heavily buying in the Phoenix market up until about a year ago, right? Because we want to capitalize on the downswings, right, of the market, and capitalize when we actually hit peak parts of the season. So we've been seeing trends that are closing in on the top. Obviously, none of us know when the top is actually going to get here because hindsight is 20/20, right? It's a delayed market. So what we do is we focus on in the higher points of the real estate market. We focus in cash flow markets. We've got cash flow markets. We've got volatile markets, or what we call oh my gosh, what are they? So they're cash flow markets and growth markets. So Phoenix itself is a growth market, and so again, as I mentioned, we want to capitalize on that volatility of that market. So as we are hitting a really closer to the high points here, we focus on building our cash flow portfolio. And so we will buy in cash flow markets, Midwest, where property values are very, very stabilized. I mean, we're seeing appreciation of less than 1% year over year. And so when we focus on these types of markets, we know that we're not going to hit a lot of back end returns and appreciation. We're also not going to have a lot of depreciation or a lot of downswings. And so when we can focus on getting those higher percentages of return on cash flow, we'll usually stash them for somewhere between 18 and 24 months, maybe up to 3 years, until we start to see these volatile markets like Phoenix again start to drop. And then we pull all of those assets out, because again, even if it goes down, we're talking about only a difference of about $1,000 or $2,000, but we bring our money back into a volatile market like Phoenix, and we're able to capitalize on the downswing of $20,000 to $60,000 on a single property. So if we lose $1,000 in the cash flow market to gain potentially on the upswing another $40,000 to $60,000, I'm perfectly happy. My investors absolutely love it.
Yeah. And what's the secret mix? Like, do you try and have, let's say, like 40% of your portfolio in one of those growth markets? Like, how do you divvy things up?
So it really depends on a couple of different things. So again, we're looking at mainly and primarily, we work on an individual basis with our investors. And so by building those individual portfolios, we can really cater to what our investor is really looking for. So some of them are focusing on, okay, well, Anne, I've got 25 years, or I've got 15 years, or I'm already retired and I want to maintain the cash flow that I currently need to sustain my lifestyle, right? So if they're already retired, they're not necessarily looking into the future as far as, okay, well, I needed a lot of growth because I know that, the market's going to swing up in the next 12 years. Okay, well, where are you going to be in 12 years? We have to look at these things realistically. So for our individuals, our investors that are looking for a lot more growth in a longer period of time, we can actually capitalize more on that on those volatile markets. Yeah. So we do a blending based on the individual needs for our investors, which is what I love about our model. We don't focus on doing REITs. We're not doing funds right now. We focus on building those portfolios for the individual. And I say, hey, Seth, where are you right now? Where do you see yourself when you are retired? What does that look like? How many years out are we? And we reverse engineer a plan for you to figure out what we need to do today.
Yeah.
And that's really what we want to focus on for each one of our investors. So it's very much a boutique service that we offer to our clients.
Yeah, no, you bring up such a really good point. It's like, people will call me up and say, Seth, tell me about real estate investing. And my response is, well, first tell me about your life and what you want to do.
Yeah. What do you want to know? Yeah. How much time do you have?
Yeah. And just because, you can there are so many different strategies out there. And like you said, you can go from a growth market to a cash flow market, depending on your lifestyle, your goals that you have, where you want to be in 10 years. Just having that boutique approach is amazing because every investor is going to be different, just like every market's different.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have a really big goal for where you want to take the size of your portfolio. So tell us about where you want to go with that.
That's actually kind of a funny story. So I feel as though being in my career and actually, from where I started 5 years ago to where I am today, I've just seen such an immense growth within myself as far as what I believe is possible. And so, when I was first starting out, I'm like, man, it'd be great to have 10 properties in portfolio. This would be so cool. And then when I got to 10, I'm like, you know what? Forget 50, 100 sounds amazing. Let's go for 100. And so now, we're 5 years in and we're like, man, you know what? I think, now I'm having visions of having 500 or, 1,000 properties in portfolio. And how many markets do we want to be in? I mean, when do we want, not even if we want to go international, but when do we want to go international? And so there's just, I just see our vision just continuing to grow. And it's number one, it's exponential. But number two, I'm realizing that there's no limits to what is possible for what we're capable of and the number of people that we can help along the way.
Yeah. Well, then what will you have to change with the way you think about real estate in your business to be able to double and triple your portfolio?
That's a great question. We are actually right now in the process of starting a board. An advisory board within our company. We just onboarded our first member, or our first board member last month, and we literally had that conversation. And we said, hey, what does growth look like, and where do we want to go, and how are we going to get there? And we started having these conversations around, okay, well, let's do this. Let's start with if we were running our business exactly like we were running it today, but we had 100 properties, we had 300 properties. Is what we're doing currently right now sustainable? And if it isn't, then we didn't make those tweaks now so that we can continue to grow, knowing that we are creating a system that is sustainable for 100, sustainable for 300 properties. So that way we're not getting all the way there and saying, oh crap, we need to now change and we need to make a complete 180 switch on these particular processes. We're actually growing along the way so that we don't have to make those immediate changes in the future. We can make those now. Yeah. Along the way.
So would you say then that systems come first and then growth will follow?
I say it's a little bit of both. So we're constantly, so a lot of what I do is I work on the front end with our investors and I build out those plans that I just mentioned. My partner actually focuses a lot on the operation side. So he has an immense ability, just a huge capacity to teach. His patience is impeccable. And he has a great system and a great approach for training our employees. And so every time we bring on a new property manager, we already have systems in place. He works with them one-on-one. He actually flies out to whatever city we're currently buying in, or whatever city we've just onboarded a new individual in our organization. And he goes out and he explains everything one-on-one. Also with our acquisitions team, he does the same thing. He trains them individually. And so he just has an immense ability to be able to do that. I'm really good with working with our investors and building out that vision with them rather than for them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a divide and conquer.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way to do it, because typically the front person, the investor relations person, is not going to be the person you want running the back end, because Correct. They're two totally different skill sets.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and what's wonderful is that we each ran our own business separately before we merged our businesses together. So we both have a fantastic capacity for everything within the organization. So if he ever wants to take a vacation with his family, I can jump into that role with no problem, because I know how our operation is done, because I've already done it.
Yeah.
So it's really fantastic that we both have a full understanding of how the entire organization works, because we're great partners together. He's just doing the things that he 100% loves to do, and I get to do the things that I 100% love to do. And that's why our relationship and our partnership has just been so phenomenal.
Yeah. How did you find each other? Like, were you looking to partner up at the time, or did it just happen organically?
No, we actually were not. So I'm very much I've always been very much a lone wolf. I'm like, oh, I got this. I'm just going to hire some employees, and then they're gonna love this business as much as I do. And we all know that isn't the case. So we actually met through a mutual mentor, and we've known each other for 4 years now. And so it was right when we were starting our businesses. And, I remember there were some points where I'd call him and I'd cry and I'd say, oh my gosh, I've never had this happen to me before. And, I'd call him and say, what do I do in this situation? He would laugh because he's got quite a few years of experience over me. He would just laugh. And I'm like, why are you laughing at me? He says, I'm not laughing at you. He says, I'm laughing with you because I was right where you are 3.5 years ago when this happened to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I said, so you're going to help me? He's like, yeah, I've got all the documentation. Here you go. And so he would walk me through that process and vice versa. He'd call me and say, hey, I need this to be done. Who do you have? And so this partnership was already forming before we ever had the conversation of actually joining forces. Yeah. Because now that we're together, it's, two heads are better than one. And now we are able to help so many more people because we're doing it together. Yeah. It just creates that exponential growth that we're looking for.
Oh, that's exactly it, that exponential effect. Once you have two partners working together, yes, well, it's almost like a 5 or 10x.
Absolutely. It's just been such an impeccable year for us.
Yeah. So what would you say is your number one challenge right now with your business?
I would say our number one challenge is capital raise right now, because there are a lot of people that are very, very worried about where the stock market is and, where they're going to place their money. They also see that the housing market is inflated. Right. So everybody's concerned. They're looking back on what happened in 2000, 2008, 2009. And, this huge dip that we took, which is, completely understandable. So you need to make sure that number one, you really understand your market. So if you are an active real estate investor, you need to really focus on, where is my market right now? And if we took a 20% dump on housing prices or on rents, if you are a buy and hold, investor, you need to make sure that you can still cover your payment. Because the way that I've always tried to explain this to other investors is, look, we are in the housing market. We are in real estate. Our houses are literally inventory. It's just inventory like what you would have in a stockroom of a warehouse. They are widgets. So you need to make sure that every single one of your widgets that you are buying or selling is going to make you profit. Not revenue, but profit. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at it from that capacity, we need to make sure that it's never an if, it's always a when the market dumps, right? We all know it's going to, we just don't know when. We just don't know how far. Yeah. And this is what got a lot of people in trouble in 2008. So we need to make sure that when it dumps, we need to make sure that we can still cover those payments. So if you're going to leverage a property on a traditional 80% leverage loan, you need to make sure that you can still cover that payment if it takes a dump. What do you anticipate that it's going to drop down? And if you can't cover that payment, it's probably not worth getting involved now. Because we all know that everybody across the board has a difficult time as the recession starts to happen. Yeah. People start losing their jobs. I may not lose my job, but I need to make sure that we can still cover those payments. Because when we've got 50, 100, 200 properties, and all of a sudden, if they were negative gearing already, now this is how a lot of people got in trouble in the beginning, right? And back in 2008. So we need to make sure that we are really focused on making sure that we are providing safety and security for our investors across the board, which is really what we always strive to do.
Yeah. And it all comes back to being aware of where you are in the market cycle, because as you're heading into the recovery phase, you can be a little bit more aggressive with your leverage, depending on how you want to play things.
Yes.
Yeah. So what sort of things are you then changing in how you're raising capital to almost combat the negative media right now?
So we've actually implemented a couple of new things into our program. So traditionally, we offer an equity position within our investment portfolio with our investors. So we do co-investing or partnering through typically a joint venture. As the market starts to, or the stock market starts to hit some peaks, and a lot of people get a little anxious and they start pulling the money out. Well, where are they going to put the money? And a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just put it into a CD. Do you know what CDs are paying right now? You've got a good bank. If you have a good bank, it's about 2%.
Yeah.
Right. So even if it's that, okay, great. So you're keeping up with inflation. You're actually not making money. You're literally you're even.
You can roast some marshmallows and make some s'mores over a fire with it.
You can't even afford the marshmallows because you're basically just breaking even at that point. So what we're doing is we're offering leveraged or secured and unsecured notes for a period of time. So this will allow those investors who are like, I don't necessarily want to keep my investment in real estate for 5, 10, or 15 years, but I would like to make a better return than what is being made in my bank. So we're now offering shorter term secured and unsecured notes for those investors because, here's the other thing, I had an investor call me, this is a couple of weeks back, and he says, Anne, 5 years is a long time. He says, because that's traditionally our minimum. You need to make sure that you are willing to invest for a minimum of 5 years, because this is long-term. I don't do short-term. I don't do midterm. We want to focus on long-term. So 5 years plus. And I think that 5 years is still pretty midterm in my particular eyes, but some people consider that long-term. It just depends on the individual. So he calls me and he's like, hey, 5 years is a long time. He says, I don't know you that well. And I said, you're absolutely right. I said, it's basically like going on a first date and then getting a proposal on your first date. And he's just started laughing. And I said, that's exactly what some individuals do, is they're like, so we've had 2 conversations. So are you ready to get married? You're like, your heart gets a little tight, your chest gets tight, and you're like, I don't know, this is a big commitment. So this is why we're offering this shorter term, so individuals have an opportunity to work with us before they commit to doing a 5 or 10 or 15 year and working on that long-term strategy with us.
Yeah.
So it kind of doubles up as a way to get introduced to the way that we operate, and getting used to who we are, but also it allows for them to say, hey, you know what, I really want to go back into the stock market. I just know that I need to stash some cash for a few years until the market drops, and then we can go and buy low and ride that wave back up.
Yeah. I like that first date analogy. I might steal that.
Go for it. I love it.
The good thing is I find real estate very, very attractive. So,
Fantastic. This is why we're here.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So what sort of routines and rituals have you developed that have helped make you a successful real estate investor?
I get up early every day. So I'm traditionally up somewhere between 4 and 5 in the morning. I hit the gym every single day, and that's more for mental clarity than it is to make me, and it obviously makes you physically feel good, but it releases a lot of endorphins, and it just helps me to kind of clear my mind at the beginning of the day and really get into that focused mindset of being productive. Right. So the first thing I do, and I can't remember where I read it in a book somewhere. The first thing I do when I get out of bed in the morning is I make my bed. It's my very first accomplishment. Within 5 seconds of waking up, I already had my first accomplishment. And it helps your mindset to change, and it changes your psychology around how you move through your day. So I focus on the actionable items every single day. So I use productivity planners. I use a lot of those things because it helps me to stay motivated when things do get a little difficult, which they always do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you've got some other business ventures going on too. So how do you really make sense of all that stuff going on in your head so you can actually focus and get things done?
It's a great question. So, so I actually have an app in my phone called Google Keep. And Google Keep is basically, I don't know if you've ever used it.
I use it on a daily basis.
Oh my gosh, it's literally my favorite thing to use. So I actually write all of our content. So I write all of our articles. I'll actually be driving to California and I'm dictating into Google Keep, and then I send it off to my team for copy. And so I literally just raw data just straight into this thing, and they basically just go through and make it look pretty, and we send it off, which is fantastic. But I also have I've had one in there for about 2 years now, and it's called Business Ideas and Inventions. And I'm not kidding, it's probably about this long, and the type is very small. So each paragraph is its own invention or idea. And I just, every time I have an idea or somebody, I have a conversation with someone, it triggers something. I'm like, oh, this would be really cool. And I go in there and I write it down, and I put all as much detail as in my brain, and then I leave it. And so I've had so many of these little ideas. Then at the beginning of this year, I wrote a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. And it talks about the Steve Jobs and then the Wozniak and the relationship that they had. And I realized, this is me not comparing myself whatsoever to this amazing man, but Steve Jobs was the big visionary, and he was the idea guy. And if you'll notice behind me, there's a giant whiteboard. I have 7 whiteboards in my house. I've got one in the bathroom. I'm not kidding. I've got one in the bathroom. I've got one in the bedroom. I've got 2 in the kitchen, 1 in the back of the door. I've got 1 here. I'm not kidding. They're everywhere because I always have ideas, and you never know when inspiration is going to strike. Yeah. And so what I do is I will sit here and I'll just whiteboard everything out. But what I realized is that I would love to implement all of these ideas, but there's no way that I can do it on my own. And so, and this is most of us, right? We all want to invest in real estate, but we know that we can't do it on our own. And this is why we hire gurus. This is why we hire mentors. This is why we listen to podcasts, is because we know that somebody else has more information that we do, and we can absolutely utilize their knowledge and expand our bandwidth. Yeah. So as much as I'm doing within my private equity firm and our management company and, the other businesses that I have, I've hit the end of my bandwidth. So now what I do is I work with other individuals and I say, you know what, hey, so-and-so, I've got this great idea. And I really think that you can help me with this. Is this something you'd be interested in working on with me? And they would say yes or no. And I'd say, great. If it is, fantastic. Let's sit down and kind of whiteboard it out on my whiteboard. And let's see if this is something that we can actually get moving forward. And so I essentially am surrounding myself with Wozniaks to help me to implement a lot of those different ideas that we have. And I've kind of dubbed myself the Oz, right? The Oz of real estate, because we're basically the man behind the curtain. So we are the individual that is building that portfolio. You get to brag about it. All of our investors, they get to go out and brag about this cool portfolio of real estate that they have. Who really built it? This guy.
Yeah.
Brag, and that's what's so fantastic is that we just get to sit in the background and we get to do what we love to do, and then our investors get to benefit from all of the work, which is great.
Yeah, you bring up something really important, because the one thing I find is beginner real estate investors, they always try and do things all on their own because it's their baby. And what I found is once I started, I did the same.
Literally where I started.
And you just, it's like your mind just expands as soon as you realize how other people can help you do what you want to do if you're helping them do what they want to do. And it just has that exponential effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here, if you give me a second, I'm going to draw something on the board that somebody told me.
Oh, yeah, go for it. All Actually, right. I'll have to whittle over mine just so I fit in.
No, you're good. You're good. So this is going to be fine. This is the first time I've done this. So if it doesn't turn out right, don't hold me against it.
Okay. No pressure. No spelling mistakes.
No pressure. So I was once told, hey, you can actually, let's do this. So this is you, and this is how much profit you can make by yourself.
Yep.
And then individuals are just like, why would I work with you when I have to give a portion of whatever is made? And I'm like, great, you can do 100% of the work and you can get 100% of the profit with the experience level that you have. Now, if you work with a professional, and this is why people work with financial advisors and financial planners, is because they don't know how to necessarily invest in stocks. I mean, I could probably go and invest in a couple of stocks. I might do okay, but do you want to work with someone that's going to do okay, or do you want to work with someone that's going to do phenomenal?
You always want to search out the best.
So then, if we can do this, and we can give you a percentage of this number, right? This is a larger circle, where I do and does 100% of the work. And you get a percentage of the profits. So essentially, let's just call it half. So if you can make 50%, where this half of the pie is actually larger than this, why wouldn't you do that?
Yep.
So if we can create more profit, where we actually not only pay ourselves, but actually give you a better profit margin over what you would be able to do on your own with 100% of your own work, why wouldn't that work?
Yeah. I love that. You know what? I use a pizza analogy where you have like a personal pan pizza and an extra large pizza.
Same thing.
So yeah. I love it.
Well, so let's refer back to that. So if you have a personal pan pizza, right? Your personal pan is probably what, $10?
Yep.
For a personal pan pizza. Okay. So you get your personal pan pizza for $10, or you can get an extra large for $14. Where's the value? You're like, oh yeah, there's so much more pizza. You're absolutely right. Why wouldn't you get the extra large? And then what you can do is you can split it amongst your friends. And now you've only paid $4 for all the pizza that you can eat. And all of your friends have all paid $4 for all the pizza that they can eat. Or you could have paid $10 to get all the pizza you can eat and paid for it yourself.
Yep.
What makes more sense? This is why, it's the same analogy.
Yeah. Plus, you can't go wrong with pizza. So.
No, I'm Italian. We eat pizza all the time. We just got back from Italy. I think I ate 3 pizzas a day.
Nice. Except, are you a stickler with pineapple on pizza? Is that like a no-no?
My younger sister loves pineapple on pizza. It's not my thing. I'm giving me a good margarita pizza with some, mozzarella and a little bit of basil and tomato. We're good to go. That's pretty much it. So, or buffalo chicken, one or the other.
Yeah, actually, that's really good. I'd buy 2 large pizzas if it was buffalo chicken. All right. So let's move on to a Keystone deal. So a deal that made a big impact on you and your business, is there one that comes to mind?
There's actually two. So the first one is going to be my very first property I ever bought. So my very first property I ever bought, I bought at auction. And I bought it while I was in France over Christmas. And so it was literally, I think it was the 3rd of January. And I was on the phone with my guy down at the auction it wasn't Skype, it was, oh my gosh, I called him from my computer. So I'm literally carrying my computer around while I'm sitting in France, and I'm sitting walking, pacing back and forth in the kitchen while he's on auction. And he's like, okay, well, it went up to, 104, and what do you want to do? I'm like, yeah, just keep going. He's like, okay. And so he's like, it's at 104, and I'm like, go to 104.5. He's like, great. And so we just kept going, and I ended up getting the house for, I think it was 104,750. And it was, there was about $30,000 spread. It was a pretty good property. And so we still own the property to this day. And it's an amazing, I think that one's cash flowing. Oh my gosh. Our investor is making about 13% on that property today. Nice. Yeah. So it's a pretty good, I think it's about 13.
Yeah. So what, that was your first deal. What was it that got you inspired and forced you to take action and take that one down?
Sure, will of power, or power of will, I guess you could call it. I'm not going to use foul language on your podcast.
Hey, we've had some good F-bombs drop before.
Oh yeah, no, I was scared to death. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, my face is sweating. But we had done the inspections on the property. I knew this. I walked through the property multiple times. I knew all of the problems. I'd already, calculated out all of the costs it was going to take to get this thing up and rentable. We had it all. It was good to go. But it's still just scary, and you just need to work through the fear, because success is on the other side of fear, and so we just need to work through it, and that's literally what it is. And there are still some properties where I'm like, oh man, you still get that anxiety and that a little bit of that rush, which is great. That's what we love about it though, because you never know. Every single property is going to be different. The other one I was going to mention was we had a hoarder house, and it was my first hoarder house, and this was February of 2018. February 2018, we buy this house, and no exaggeration, it was about 1,600 square feet, and it was on about almost a half acre. And it was a hoarder house, inside and out.
No.
Oh yeah. So, this is what makes us a little more unique than a lot of other companies that are out there. So the first thing that we did is we had a yard sale. So we opened up the house for 2 weekends, and we had a yard sale, and I didn't mark anything. I just let people come in, and I said, whatever you want to offer us, it's yours. So we had the neighbor across the street came over, and he says, hey, are you selling that dune buggy in the back? And I looked at him, and I'm like, what dune buggy? I'm not kidding. There was a dune buggy buried in the backyard. And he says, I want to buy it from you. And I'm like, 900? He says 5. And I'm like, 650? He says, cool. So we sold the dune buggy. So this is, so we made probably, oh my gosh, I want to say about $1,500 or $1,800 in 2 weekends. And that funded for us to get the dumpsters and to hire a team to come out and clean out the rest of the house. And so after we did all of that, or after we did the yard sale, then what we did was we called Goodwill, and we called places to donate. Because I'm really of the opinion if somebody else can put it to good use, why not? Versus throwing it into the landfill. I don't think that things should go there unless they really absolutely have to. So those were the first items. So we did yard sale, then we did, the donation. So now we've got capital. We got money back from this property already. And then we also got a tax write-off from everything that was donated in that house. Then what we do is we go ahead and we throw everything else away. That's just how we operate, because we want to be extremely efficient. We want to make sure that we are creating as much value as possible. And again, none of our investors, I sent some photos and I said, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. And they're like, wait, you're going to make us money off stuff that you're going to get out of the house. Yep. And they're like, cool. Sounds good. And I said, okay, cool. I said, here's the thing. We're going to save you $1,500 off of doing this. And then it's going to cover the cost of the dumpsters. And then, all this stuff. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. I said, yeah. And on top of that, we'll get a tax write-off. And, with the new tax laws, we'll get an additional write-off. So, we're basically going to have a negative K1 this year. And they're just like, wait, what? I said, yeah, this is what we do. I said, this is why you work with me. And they're like, this is amazing. I said, so how's your trip to Italy?
Yeah.
I was like, it's going well. I said, cool, everything's good here. So
that's awesome.
This is just how we operate.
Yeah. No, I love those first two. And with that first property, you bought that with an investor, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how did you go about getting an investor on board purchasing it with you if you had never done a deal before?
That was, oh my gosh, that was pretty difficult. So we, it was a friend of a friend, essentially. So, I was connected to somebody that was interested in investing, had done some investing before, but just really didn't want to be the active side of it anymore. It was just like, hey, we just really want to get some cash flow. Want to make sure that we can sustain our lifestyle. I said, great. So we laid out our model. We showed them exactly what we were going to do, and just, okay, he says, on the first couple of these, I want to be a little more involved. And I said, fine. I said, anything you want, need, or would like to know, you let me know. And so we sent all of the appraisals over. We sent all the inspections. We let them know all the purchase prices and what we're going to do, and show them like the cost sheets of what the rehab was going to be. And so we literally detailed all of it out. And after the first two, he's like, I don't need to see any of this. You're good to go. Cool. And so basically, the floodgates, and we were able to just go out and do exactly what we already were doing.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
but I think everybody's comfort level is going to be different. And, what I want to do is if somebody wants to learn, we're 100% willing to, walk them through what it is that we're doing while we're working together. Because, they might want to, here's the thing, they might want to invest in a market that I don't really want to go into. It might just be an emotional thing for them because of where they grew up, or, they might want to buy a property for, their family members that are aging, whatever the case may be. And it just may not be something, but we're always willing to help in any capacity that we need to for our clients.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So how has getting into real estate changed your life? Because you got so much stuff on the go right now.
I think it's given me a lot of my personal freedom back. And what I mean by that is it isn't that I don't work. I work very hard. We work very long hours, very long weeks. There are very few vacations. But what's great about what it is that I do is that I can now be very present for my family. And my family we've always been very close. I mean, you and I've talked about this on numerous occasions. I mean, we make family videos still. I mean, who still makes family videos? This guy. My sister is just a fantastic videographer. So every family event, she makes us a video, and within a week, we've got all of our memories on video. And what real estate has allowed me to do, and owning my own business has allowed me to do, is spend more time with them. So I've been present for the birth of every single one of my nieces and nephews. We were able to go with my mom on a trip to Italy. She'd never been to Italy before. So we packed up and went to Italy for 2 weeks. I still worked while I was there. I recorded a couple of podcasts while I was there, but it allows us that freedom to do what it is that we truly desire. And so that's really what real estate has helped me to do, is to get my time freedom, but also my financial freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get to spend time helping those that I want to help, which is helping other investors, other individuals that may be afraid or may not have the bandwidth and need somebody to help them to expand their bandwidth. Just like I'm using other people to work on other projects with me, other people can use us to help them to expand their bandwidth. So you might have a job, and we work with a lot of investors that are still employed. And they're like, hey, I really want to get to retirement faster. I want to use my my 401k or my IRA to invest in real estate, so we can eventually get so we can actually build out our retirement faster. And so they're like, but Anne, I can't do it by myself. I've got kids. My wife just having a baby. I'm working 90 hours a week, but I want to invest in real estate. But I don't have the time to either, number one, go out and learn so that I can do it well and not lose my ass on the back side of it. Or number two is I just don't have the time, right, to do it. Like, I have the knowledge, I just don't have the time. So, there's always reasons why individuals may need help. And that's all we're looking to do, is just help each other. And that's why you and I have always gotten along so well, is we just have that same vision for everyone.
Yeah. No, 100%. So let's look ahead 10 years from now. So a decade.
Yes.
Where will Anne be with her real estate business then?
So our goal, I just had a conversation with my partner, actually as soon as we got back from Italy. And I said, I really think that we should start looking at international stuff in the next couple of years. So that's definitely a place that we want to get to, is start investing internationally into vacation rentals. But also, we are looking to expand, obviously, nationally. We're in a couple of different states now. We want to get to close to about 500 properties in the next 10 years.
Nice.
So,
I
yeah.
like it. You'll have to pick up a couple like foreign chateaus or something like that.
Yes. I'm 100% down. You're welcome to come. Bring the fam.
Oh yeah.
Go eat some pizza where it originated.
Yeah. Hey, if you pick up a really cool castle, I love castles.
Me too. I actually, so my mentor, his wife and myself are very good friends. And I said, we just need to start, once a year, once every couple of years, picking a different country to go and stay in a castle. Because there are a lot of, they stayed in one, I want to say in Ireland when they were there last. I'm like, they were sending me photos. I'm like, man, this is so cool. And I've always just had a dream of, staying in a castle and, having the cool fireplace. When you watch Game of Thrones, you're like, oh, that's such a cool bedroom. Like, oh, that's such a cool kitchen. I'd love to cook in that. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So we're definitely in the works.
I love it. Well, next year we'll have to do an interview with you live on location.
Yes.
On the turrets of some tower or something. That would be cool.
Absolutely. Well, I am going to Barcelona for my birthday in February if anybody wants to come.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. One city I've never been to, but I've always wanted to.
Yeah. Well, you can, actually, I wonder if any of the Olympic stuff is still around there.
I don't know. I haven't, I'm sure that it is because they usually live. I was in China a few years back in Beijing, and they still had a lot of the structures still built, and they had a lot of the, just as a commemoration for the Olympics being there.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and if somebody's looking to get in touch, learn more about your business, find out more about what you're doing, where can they get in touch?
Oh my gosh. Best way is probably by email. We responded very quickly to email. It's going to be Anne, ANNE at Amagrande, which is AMAGRANDE.com. You can also reach us on our website, which is amagrande.com, or you can reach us directly on our phone number, which is 480-542-7772.
That's great. Well, Anne, this has been an absolute blast. Really enjoyed this. So just want to thank you for sharing all that really good stuff with us.
Absolutely. Anytime. We always have a great conversation. I mean, we always have to say like, okay, we need to start recording. Okay, we need to start recording. So we just always have a good time together.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure we could go on for a couple hours. That's episode number 2.
No doubt. Absolutely.
That's great. Well, this has been a pleasure. So to you, our viewers, I wish you well on your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.